Hey guys, welcome to another video. So in today's China Chats, which is episode number 2, we are going to talk about the future of English teaching in China, and we are going to have a special guest today. So let's start.
All right, guys. How are you? James, nice to meet you. Welcome to the show. And Zach, how are you today? So let's start with James. How are you, man?
I'm feeling good. Yeah. End of a busy week, and
Looking
there's.
sharp, looking sharp.
Oh, thank you very much. I've had a very strong shower to make myself look presentable, but pretty good.
Tell us a little bit about your channel, man.
Yeah, the channel's called Shy Guy Travel, and I've just recently started uploading videos whilst I've been in China. Basically, providing a little bit of a window into Chinese life and looking at it from the perspective of the channel, which is about how traveling can improve you as a person and some of the unexpected benefits to you that come from traveling. And I'm looking to get, I don't know, a little bit deeper and something more novel around Chinese, about recording Chinese life, basically. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far.
During the preparation for this video, we were talking about that name Shy Travel is pretty interesting. And yeah, you're right. Traveling does bring some confidence to you.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
if you guys have seen these videos, you know Zach. Zach, how you doing tonight?
I'm super good. I'm just listening to you guys talking, so I'm just going to be the third wheel tonight, but go ahead. No, I'm good. I'm good,
Could you
and
play the
it's good to.
violin?
Yeah. I'm gonna play the sad violin. I might put it into the video when I do my cut. I might just cut this part in at the beginning as an intro. So yeah, but it's good to have James today. So welcome, James. I mean, we talked on WeChat quite a bit. So we know that you're not really a shy guy, but that's why you call your channel, and you actually have a book. Is that correct? You have a book called Shy Guy Travel, is it?
It's called The Shy Guy's Guide to Traveling. And reason why people meet me and then they say, "You're not shy. What are you talking about?" But that's kind of the point, is that traveling has helped me. It's such a cliche, but to come out of my shell, more or less. So that was part of the reason for writing the book as well. That from my perspective, the biggest benefit to me that's come from traveling is to help improve my confidence in many areas of my life. And sometimes this just means about taking risks and kind of expanding the range of what you think is possible, that you're capable of. It's not always just about social anxiety, although that does come into it. I do talk about that, how traveling can help you with that as well.
Well, to kind of like take us to today's topic, which is going to be teaching English in China, and particularly teaching in China during COVID-19 and the future of teaching as we are coming out of this situation. I would say that people don't believe me that I am shy. I mean, in the classroom, no issues, but take me out of the classroom and I'm not a people person. Are you a shy person, Zach?
Not really personally, no. I mean, you can watch my videos and you can see I just say what I mean, and that's why so many people sometimes hate me, and they leave nasty comments like, "You can't say that." I'm like, "Yes, I can." I mean,
for me, it's the Latino hot blood that goes to my head, and I'm like beer, like I go woo and then come down slowly and go back to normal.
Right.
All right, guys, let's jump into teaching. So, first question right off the bat. We're going to take turns with questions. But my question is, what brought you to teaching in China? Who wants to go first?
I think James should go first because he's been
the
here
newbie.
the shortest time. Yeah, he's the newbie. So, I mean, I think James can go first on this one.
Yeah, all right. So basically, the main thing is that I wanted to go traveling again. My last trip was cut short due to illness, and everything's fine, don't worry. But and I wanted to kind of go again, but from the point of view that I wanted some more stability You know, because before I was a digital nomad, and that was very unstable life, not really having one base. And even if you are an open-minded and independent person and okay with the adventurous aspects of traveling, I think we all need that kind of stability at least once in a while, to have a established social circle for one thing, an income that's steady, and the ability to, you know, have an apartment of your own and go out and buy stuff if you want to. And so I thought, how can I do that whilst also traveling? And I'd always thought about teaching English as a foreign language as something as I might want to do one day, but never really put some plans to it. And then at some point, maybe a year and a half ago, I decided, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I just went for it. I got my TEFL, and I uploaded my CV to a website that was advertising teaching English all around the world, but I specified Asia because that the culture, the Asian culture specifically, all different kinds of Asian cultures, interest me specifically. And yeah, and I got some offers of interviews almost straight away from a number of places, Hong Kong, Korea, and China. And I went for this one, which is kind of like the best offer. So it was something I'd never done before, which is a big thing, I think. I'm always trying to do things I've never done before. So try and test myself.
You pointed something interesting. You got an offer from Hong Kong. That's
Yes.
technically also China. Why did you choose mainland over Hong Kong?
I think just the offer was better. I wouldn't go into the details, but it was kind of the overall package that they were offering me. So part of the reason why I've come to China, I have to say, is monetary. Like, I think if you are thinking about coming to teaching English as a foreign language, in terms of like salary to cost of living, China is up there, maybe the best or one of the best, depending on where you're working or what kind of thing you're doing. Yeah, so I have to say that's one of the big reasons for it. And also it helps that I'm interested in China generally, and I wanted to learn more about it, and also kind of ingratiate myself in a culture, which I'd not done before. It was more kind of like almost through a tourist eyes everywhere I'd been prior to that. So this would be something different. Also an opportunity to learn the language, which is something I've always wanted to do. Felt
cool.
Felt I had the opportunity to learn a new language. So that was exciting for me as well.
Cool. What about you, Zack? Why did you end up here teaching English?
Well, I explained it to him in private that, I had a friend at university. We lived at the same dorm rooms, and basically, after we graduated, he waited like 6 months. Then he found a job somewhere down south. I can't exactly remember where, because I haven't talked to him for like 6 or 8 months now. So he may be somewhere else. Or maybe he's back in England, I'm not sure. But yeah, basically because of him, I checked his Facebook. He had loads of pictures up, and we started talking. Then that's how I ended up. The thing is, I wanted to ask James, because he didn't say the company's name that he was using. Sorry for asking this, but is it an actual legit company, or was it a bogus company? Are you still with this company, or you just left them and went into your own ways? Because that is something that so many people they don't know what's going on with the English teaching industry and how it works in China, because there are so many fake companies that they promise a lot of things to foreigners, like, we're going to give you a work visa, we're going to give you an apartment, we're going to give you a decent salary, and somebody comes here from the other side of the world, and they get pretty crap salaries, and they need to share apartments, and then loads of things are not covered, and they get like tourist visas, and they need to work around the clock for like 7 days a week. So
there was the company I work for, and it's been the same all the way through, is First Leap, which has a number of schools all around the country. And I have to say, from the very beginning, it was all very all squeaky clean and all good, all on the proper visas, and everything that they promised, it did come to pass. Not to say that was like an easy process all the way through, because I don't think it ever is, moving to China, but they, through another company called Career China, they helped facilitate the visa process and helped me get over to Beijing for training and all that. And it was relatively smooth. And I know I've heard about these stories, but I can definitely say First Leap is definitely in the good category as far as I'm concerned, from my experience.
Look, as a senior here, I've been teaching in China since the year 2000. All I can say is that the changes that I've seen over the last 5 years are gigantic. It went from being like the Wild East, where all the things that Zack was talking about were rampant. I mean, I got here to work at a university, and the person who picked me up at the airport shipped me to Harbin, as I mentioned in another videos, on the second day. Harbin is like 20 minutes from Russia. And I'm like, to teach kindergarten. And I'm like, I came here to teach university. So, and what you said is very true. I mean, you've left everything behind, and you end up in a situation like that. So what you're going to do, turn around and go back? No, okay, how do I make this work, right? But what I'm trying to say is that over the last 5 years, things have become a lot more professional, in a sense that the requirements for a degree, for proper work permits, for criminal background checks, things like that, they make the whole industry a lot safer for the teacher and for the employer at the same time. Why do I say so? Because one of the biggest, as a business owner, as a training center owner, one of the biggest risks that you have, that you had in the past, was you hired a teacher and he's here today, he gets fed up and takes off and leaves, and you're stuck. I mean, what do you do with those customers that you had for this particular teacher, right? So that lack of professionalism was a huge, huge cause for distrust. So the Chinese employers distrusted the teachers. The teachers did not trust the employers, and it was just a vicious circle that just made for horrible experiences working for people and hiring people at the same time. So I have to say that over the last 5 years, although a teacher can always take off and leave the next day, the fact that you have a contract that's valid, that you have a work visa, that you can't just go get another job without me giving you a release letter. You know what I mean? Like little things that make it a little bit more standardized, more professional, more the way should be. So for me, all these changes are very welcome. And I acknowledge that it hasn't happened throughout the whole country at the same pace or at the same time. It varies from city to city. So I don't know, Zach, you were talking about some of those horrible situations that I remember from probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Are those still happening in your city where you are?
Absolutely, I can actually tell you a personal experience. As soon as I got to Beijing, that's why I asked James if he was through a legit company, because I wasn't. I was promised a lot of things, work visas, apartment, and all sorts of things, and that's how I ended up in Jilin. And I haven't really told anyone this story, but I was supposed to work in Beijing. That was supposed to be my like area, my city where I settle down and start working. But after finishing the 3 weeks training, I got sent up here to Jilin. So it's in some aspects, it's actually very similar to yours. What happened to you, that you basically were shipped off into another part of the country. Yeah. And basically I was doing, it wasn't even kindergarten. It was babysitting. Like, for the first like 3 months, I was looking after babies. Like, 6 months. We're starting from like 6 months all the way up to 24 months. And that was our school. So after I found out what was going on, I've decided, it's time to move. And obviously they never gave me the correct visa. So I had to, leave the country, come back. But then I went to South Korea, which was amazing. I loved it. Another Asian country off the list. So that was good. But like I said, it was a bogus school and the bogus agency. Like, you can't find them anymore because, they just come and go. Like, they set themselves up for 6 months with a fake name. Their owners, they change their names and they start advertising. For 6 months, they pull in, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 teachers, and they get a decent money out of it. After, 6 to 8 months, they close down everything. They close the websites, emails, Skypes, everything. Then they start from square one, and they just do it again. And unfortunately, it's still a thing in China, and so many people don't believe it in the West that this is something that is happening every single day. It's happening right now as well. I mean, I'm in many teaching groups that are looking for foreigners, and they're looking for foreigners within China. And so many of the adverts are saying, working visa is not necessary. If you're already working at a school, don't worry about it. We're going to give you a visa. Whatever visa you have, you can come to our city and you can start teaching from tomorrow, basically.
It's one of the reasons why I started my channel, because I wanted to tell people what it was like. I mean, what you needed to be careful with, what you needed to worry about, the kind of questions that you needed to ask. For example, I don't know, James, sorry guys, before you came here, were you able to talk to some of the teachers that were working here, or were you able to corroborate some of the information that they were telling you or sending you with somebody here on the ground?
Yeah, they gave me the WeChat and emails of the headmaster, the owner of the franchise, and also my supervisor, so to speak. So there was that, and then the stories seemed to corroborate. So I was, and there was, and I was interviewed by somebody, part of the company, and he kind of, I don't know, that never occurred to me. I don't know whether I've been more, not suspicious, but just been, I just
probably cautious is the right word, yeah.
Because it didn't occur to me that would be an issue, and maybe I just got lucky. But having said that, there was never any case where I got any red flags or anything like that. It did seem to be, the communication was very good.
So if anybody's out there watching this video and hoping to come to China to teach, what I would like to tell them, and you can ratify this, is that in China, you're not supposed to teach legally if you don't have a degree and if you're not a native speaking teacher, if you're not from a native speaking country. And that's the second thing that I wanted to start talking about. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, you guys know that I'm not a native speaker. How do you feel about natives versus non-natives? Who wants to go first on that one?
I would like to go first on this one. Personally, because I'm basically a dual citizen, British Hungarian. Honestly, there's no difference. There's no difference whatsoever. I don't see any kind of difference between James's teaching and my teaching, for example. If you give James the same book as you give me, I'm pretty sure we're gonna come up with something very similar, and we can both deliver. The class just as well. So, I don't think it's gonna make any kind of a difference if you're a native or non-native, because it's teaching. So, you need to know the language. That is correct. But, I think a non-native actually has an advantage because that person already learned English. So they know, the steps to become, better at the language. And because of
they know
that,
what the problems are. They know the hurdles.
Yeah. So they understand, because they were kids and they probably learned, English when they were kids. So they understand what kind of problems kids might be facing during the process of learning. Yeah. So James, what? Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's down to the level, and I don't think native speakers have a monopoly on proper English instruction. I think learning how to do it and being able to deliver it is accessible to anybody who's willing to learn how to do it, I guess. There's some non-native English speakers that, as far as I'm concerned, could be native. There's been a handful of Scandinavians I've met who, as you know, there's nothing that they would not understand except for some strange, you know, regional slang from various parts of England or anything like that. And also, there's a disadvantage, I suppose, in that native speakers don't know how they learned their language. It just sort of happened.
Yeah, it comes naturally, yeah.
Yeah, and so we have to kind of reverse engineer it to be able to understand it, right? So
yeah, you need to start looking at.
Necessarily has the empathy.
Sorry, I interrupted it. You as a native speaker, you need to step back and look at, okay,
yes,
why does this work the way it works? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do you use the past and not the past perfect? Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And learning all that when I was doing my TEFL, excuse me, studies it's kind of like, oh yeah, I suppose that is the way we do it, but it's not. But that's it's kind of like we have to go through those same steps, right, as everybody else. It's not as if we're born with the ability to teach English. It's just that
exactly
we know it. Right? And if I can't see how it'd be any disadvantage if a non-native speaker goes through all those same steps and can reach those same sort of standards. If they're considered fluent, and I've met many, and I consider you fluent, Fernando. I can't foresee so far yet. I don't think you've misunderstood anything I've said, and we're speaking naturally and fluently. So if as far as the qualification is concerned, you are able to do it, then whatever. I don't mind. I don't care.
I have a couple of things to say about the whole native, non-native. I basically made illegal. Oh no, sorry, they extended it. I renewed my work permit just last month, so I have another year. I don't know why they did that. And perhaps we're going to talk about that when it relates to COVID. Maybe the supply is low, so they still allow me, a non-native, to continue teaching here. But we're going to get to that into a second. But one of the things about natives and non-natives is sometimes when I train, because I train my teachers, and I ask them, okay, why do we say this? Why do we say that? Oh, that's just the way it is. That to me is a clear indication that the person is not at the level that I need him to be. It's not a proper answer for a student. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
but that's also, I think the language is kind of like an emergent thing. So I think there's necessarily going to be times where things are the way they are because they've just sort of emerged that way, not because it's been sort of designed with specific rules in mind. The rules have kind of come from the bottom up rather than from the top
from
down.
usage.
Yes, exactly. So it's kind of like, why are bears brown? You can kind of rationalize it, but it's not because somebody designed it, unless you're a creationist, but it's because it's emerged that way through survival. It's the same sort of process as language. It's an evolutionary process.
And the second thing that I have to say to people who argue against native English speakers working in China, non-native English speakers working in China is, so what about all the Chinese English teachers that are teaching at schools today? They're Chinese, they're non-natives, and they're allowed to work.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between Ms. Yang and me?
Yeah.
Salary maybe, but the ability to work should be there.
Yeah. And some of the native Chinese, I would say, maybe a step below fluent, in my opinion. And then there's, apart from the content that they have to teach, it's actually quite difficult to have a conversation with them sometimes. So,
all right. Zach, do you have anything to add, or we move on to the next topic?
I'm very happy to move on to the next topic, and I actually have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure, sir.
Or do you want to carry on with your questions? I mean, it seems
no. Go ahead. What do you want to ask?
So basically, we were talking about schools and how we are teaching, but we didn't really specify what kind of age groups we are teaching, because I know Fernando is teaching something I'm teaching something else, and James, we don't really know, like, what's your age group and what's your age group, basically. So we don't really know. So Fernando, do you want to explain?
Look,
Because I think it makes a difference in teaching, and then people can probably better understand what we are talking about. So I think that would be a good idea to specify what age groups we are doing.
I'll give you the shortest version that I can of my history in teaching. I started teaching adults when I first graduated, so back in 1993, 94, in Colombia. Then I went to teach university in Colombia, and then I came to China. And I was teaching everything here in China at the beginning. I was teaching kindergarten in the morning, and I would go and do middle school English corner in the afternoon, and I would teach adults at corporate gigs in the evening for my previous boss. So just the whole range. When I started my company, I said, okay, I want to teach adults. That's what I feel more comfortable teaching. But it flopped, the idea, and quickly I switched to, okay, the market really is children. So I switched to children, and that's what I've been teaching ever since. So we teach from 5 years of age until basically 18. A few corporates here and there. I'll sign contracts, for example, with schools that if they like a teacher leaves, for example. So, okay, I'll teach until the end of the term. So I teach high schools, middle, whatever comes my way during the day. But I work at a training center, which basically means evenings and weekends. And yeah, that's the age range that I teach mostly. What about you, James?
Yeah.
From 3 years old to 10. So from kindergarten to the end of elementary school. I'm translating. I was going to say reception to primary school. So yeah, but mostly it's quite young at the moment. I think the oldest I have is 9 at the moment. So because it's a kind of a new center and they're starting everyone from the beginning. So that's where I am at the moment. Young kids, very active, energetic classes. Yeah.
And Zack?
Yeah, personally, I was, like I said earlier, I was starting off with very young ones. So from 6 months all the way up to like 24 months. So that was my first like ever, teaching thing in China. And after that, I moved on to a training school, my training school now. So we are teaching from 4 years old all the way up to 14, 15, depending on, where they stand in the calendar when they were born. So all the way up to 15 years old. I mean, sometimes, you get old students back that they're at university and they sign up for like, a few extra classes, like one-on-one classes with me, for example. But, right now I don't really teach anymore. For the past, like, I don't know, 6 months, I haven't done much teaching. I only started doing it, a couple of weeks ago because we need another teacher online. So yeah, that's my age group. So 4 to 14, 15 with the occasional, adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's time to move on with the next question, Fernando.
Sure. Well, this period of time, this early 2020, I would like to know how it has affected you, how your schools, how your bosses, how your businesses dealt with the situation, and obviously I'll share my bit as well. What changes did you see? Any unfairness, any fairness, any? I mean, how did you guys go through this period of time now that we are slowly going back to work? So I wanted to look back at that. So, James, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I was amazed at the quick turnaround from the beginning of when the virus first started. It first became apparent that the virus is going to be serious and that we were going to be locked down. It started off with supplementary material. So me and the other foreign teachers were making short little videos to send in the WeChat groups to the class for them to continue their at-home study. And then during that period, the head office were busily converting all the offline material into online classes. So the curriculum that they had been following could continue in a reasonable time. And I was amazed really because the large majority of the content is offline anyway, and to be able to do that in such a short time frame was amazing. And the fact that it works, that we can actually deliver something to the parents for what they're paying for, amazed me really. And there were a lot of problems with logistics and all that, and also the actual software itself was very buggy, slow. It wouldn't work on my MacBook, so they had to rent a PC laptop for me and getting all set up. And then we had to do special training on online classes because it's all offline. The foreign teachers don't do anything online for the company. Well, I hadn't until up to that point. So we had to do extra training. And in terms of the actual learning content, it was very similar. The worry was because firstly, the lessons are very activity based, very getting up and down, moving around, dancing around, lots of games, music, dancing. And the worry was, how on earth is that going to convert to online? And the answer is okay. It's fine. It's suboptimal, but I think fundamentally the language acquisition was there. But I think a lot of what the parents are paying for when they go to Firstly is the whole experience, how fun it is actually. So the whole activity thing and the being able to perform, like there's one of the key outcomes that the school expects is the students to be able to elicit and to
recite,
deliver. Yes, yeah, exactly. To put on a performance, if you want. At the end of every year, they do sort of like story time performances with costume and music and all sorts of things. That's one of the key outcomes, not just learning English. And it's all integrated with other kinds of content as well. So they're learning science and stuff like that. So it's all very like a holistic learning experience. So that part I think suffered because it's just very difficult to replicate online, and they don't, especially the young kids don't really get the cues or why they're doing certain things, why they have to elicit and that sort of thing. So it's difficult, but I think we just about got away with it. I know we're getting back onto offline now, and the kids came back the week previous, and slowly getting back to normal.
Nice.
Fairness and unfairness. Very quickly, I'm not sure what I mean by that question about something being fair or not fair.
I mean, in terms of salary, I mean, did you get any pay cuts? Did you get any,
yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so we did get a temporary pay cut for 1 month. We got half pay for 1 month, and that was paid back the other day. So considering what could have been and what's been happening to other people, you can tell me your stories, but I think we've done quite well. The only problem was that when we were off, it was boring. That's the biggest complaint I have.
So Zach, what has been your experience during this time? You say you haven't taught at all.
Yeah, I mean, we did basically what James said. So we sent, a couple of videos on WeChat, but that was at the end of January, beginning of February. Then we were just doing nothing for February. And early March, we started doing these like shorter classes for 20, 25 minutes. Then after that, at the beginning of May, we set up Classin, which is actually a very expensive software and service. So personally, I wouldn't actually recommend it to anyone to do, online teaching on that one. Try to find a different one because the service itself is okay, but it is actually very expensive. And, like James said, it doesn't go through that well. So it's not as good as teaching in person, in like offline. And I think I did talk about this in my previous video that was released on Sunday. And I basically said that I think online teaching is going to be the future, but not, very soon. So we're not talking like, the next 3 to 5 years, maybe in the next, 15, 20, 25 years, it's going to be something that's going to overtake offline teaching, in-person teaching. So we're going to see more and more online classes. And I think that is actually a good thing. I know that, you know, many people don't agree with this, especially in my comment section. They said they don't think this is a good thing, but I personally think that, you know, this is the future. And it's kind of like electric cars. Like at the beginning, everyone was like, you know, nobody wants to drive an electric car. Now everybody's hyping up Tesla. So I think it's going to be something similar. There you go, the Neo. I mean, I'm still driving a normal petrol car, but yeah. So salary-wise, we did have a cut. So we had, it's 30% of our normal salary. That's what we had, because, you know, we are still a very small school. So we only have like, you know, 1,000 students, and, you know, the first one that had to take a pay cut was actually me, because, you know, I'm with the owners technically, so I had to, you know, reduce my own salary first. Yeah, to set the example basically. So, you know, I didn't like it because at the time I was actually in England, and you know, England is more expensive than China by a mile. So when I was there, you know, I've decided that my salary is going to be like, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 RMB a month during this period, and that wasn't, you know, something that I really enjoyed doing. But now since we are doing online teaching, we can afford to do, you know, normal salaries again to all the Chinese teachers, to all the foreign teachers. So that is a good thing. But during the outbreak, we actually struggled quite a bit, and we were actually calculating, like, you know, how long we have left until we need to close the school. And by the looks of it, back in February, it looked like, you know, June and July is the cutoff date when we need to say, okay, this is it, we need to close. But, you know, fortunately, we got over that, and that's why we are doing online teaching. So, you know, it's working out okay.
My experience was is very peculiar or very particular because, well, we have a practice that allows us to have a lot of stability. One of the things that makes our center different is that we don't charge students for, oh, you need to sign up, and if you pay 3 years, then we give you a huge discount and blah blah blah. We don't tie the customer to a very long period of time in which, well, they don't know what's going to happen to the center. So like, look, we go term by term. That's how we charge, and that's how it actually helps me to sell, because I tell them, like, look, if you find that this is not the center for you, you haven't wasted a lot of money or you haven't wasted a lot of time. So after 4 or 5 months, you're not happy with what we do, you can go and find another training center. So this works for you, works for me, it's fine. So I'm okay with that short term of sales. But what we do is, from one term to another, there's always a little bit of bleeding, right? You bleed a couple of students here, a couple of students there. So what we started to do several years ago was, before the end of the term, we asked the parents to confirm that they're going to renew with us after the holiday, the Chinese New Year or the summer break. And we asked them to pay for the courses. So basically, at the end of mid-January, we had already sold everything that we needed for next term. So we had the money on our side. So, okay, we normally go on vacation, 15 days, 3 weeks, everybody goes on vacation, and then boom, January 21st, 24th, 25th was when the whole lockdown and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, okay, so what are we going to do? Because we were thinking about starting middle of February again. And then nothing happened. And then nothing happened. And then nothing happened. And, well, I started to panic. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen to this term? In some of my videos, I mentioned, like, I can't afford to keep everything going on. I have 2 centers, and I run another third one with a partner. So I can't afford to keep things going on indefinitely. And that was the most anxiety I've ever felt, is that you see, like, all the expenses and the money going out, and you're like, when can I get back to work so I can start? Because this is money that I haven't worked for, right? So the money was there, but I was just digging a pit. So basically by mid-April, I said, I have to let my teachers go. I can't keep them indefinitely because we had no answers. We had no idea what was going to happen. So I had to let them go. And it's been really, really tough um, because, well, no, it's not that there's no money there. It's just that every single penny that I spend, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay for this in the future. And the biggest question for me, like for example, I wanted to show you this documents right here. The government has told us that we can restart on June 2nd. And only today we received all these forms. These are all the forms that we need to fill out. This is not all the forms. This is like a quarter of the forms. It's like 200 pages. Stuff that we need to fill out to apply to be able to reopen. So once we're done with all this, we will be able to reopen. But June 2nd is in 2 days. And you know what I'm saying? So we're not going to be opening June 2nd. And my question is, how is that going to affect the rest of the year? Because I still owe a term to these students. So I only have whatever time is left of June, July, which was supposed to be summer camp, so that money's gone. August, which was supposed to be the other part of summer camp, that's gone. So I have 3 months to teach what I would normally teach in 5 months. And if I don't do that, if I'm not able to manage that, to accomplish that, it's going to compromise the next term, which is from September until next Chinese New Year. So I'm just trying to organize everything in terms of schedule and hiring teachers again to make sure that I can finish this thousands of hours that we have sold already in these 3 months. And of course, part of the profits have been spent, part of the savings have been, my savings have been spent, all of my savings have been spent. So I also need to figure out, okay, how many hours do I need to work so that I can pay back the money that I've already spent? You know what I mean? So it's an exercise in mathematics, in business management that has nothing to do with teaching, but that has been my experience. And the hair thinning and the gray hair is just exponentially.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I have that problem as well, and I'm only 20 something, late 20s. I don't want to reveal my actual age, but I'm late 20s, and I already have a lot of gray hair, like on the sides and at the back as well. So if you want it, oh yeah, James is checking in. Yeah, if you check my videos, you can definitely see that I have that gray hair.
Let me zoom in.
It's coming along nicely. So yeah.
No, the other thing that I have to say is that a very, very short note. A lot of people mentioned, like, why didn't I go into online teaching? And I tried.
Yeah.
Basically, as I mentioned, my customers, they pay for a service. And that's what I wanted to ask you, James. I mean, the value of face-to-face teaching is very different from online teaching. So my customers are like, no, we don't want to substitute this for online lessons. So what was the other option? Okay, lower the price. But again, I was in the same conundrum. If I lower the price, basically it means I owe them many more hours. When will I restart? And when will I be able to return this money? It just made no sense. The customers didn't want it, and I didn't want to extend my suffering. God knows how long into next year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a difficult sell because there's that perceived value gap. It just seems you're getting more when it's brick and mortar. It's literally there. People are coming in to work to do it, and it feels like there's more labor in it. So perhaps some of the parents are probably thinking it's just kind of cheating, isn't it? Doing it online, like it's like anybody could do that kind of thing. When really, I don't think the gap is that big, but it's that perception that perhaps the parents are feeling. One of my classes' parents just decided before we even started that it wasn't going to work, and they decided it's just better off waiting until they come back for real. And they decided my kids are not going to. It was either this: my kids are not going to be able to behave and get anything from it, or explicitly questioning the value they get from it. They just couldn't believe that we as a company would be able to deliver the same or even close to the experience that you get in the classroom. And I'm still trying to think about it because it happened so fast, but I don't know whether that perception is accurate, mildly accurate, or not accurate at all. It's just, but whether it is or it isn't, you kind of have to go with what your customers want, you know. So it's a definite tricky question, and I definitely don't envy you.
Do you think, like Zack said, that online is the future? I believe that online is the future.
Oh, I love that song. Oh my goodness. I'm always thinking of that song. It's always in my head as well.
Do you think online is the future?
I'm still, you know, I heard Zack talk about that yesterday, and then I listened to his video today about it, and I'm still thinking about it. And obviously it will be part of the future. I think there's going to be lots of things that are just going to be shifted to online, and it'll happen very quickly. And I think your timescale is pretty bang on, Zack. These things, you know, 20 to 25 years is not a long time. That's nothing. There will be definitely a big transition. Whether it will completely replace it, I don't know. I still need to think about that, because of course there are inefficiencies with brick and mortar things, and if shopping can basically be, you know, mostly online now, if entertainment can mostly be online now, then why not education? And
exactly. I mean, that's what I was thinking about. So
may I?
I mean, if go ahead.
When you're working with children, TPR is a huge part of the whole learning experience. So how do you get the P, the physical response online?
So you make it. I think you make but you make the visual experience better. Like, you know, there are so many, like, you know, short films, short videos, and all of these things that can improve a class. And, you know, I am personally using these things to make my classes better. Like, you know, so many times, you know, people said that, you know, teaching is supposed to be fun, and learning supposed to be fun, that you should, you know, try to put games into your teaching, and bring as many games as you can into a classroom to make it enjoyable, not just, you know, textbook learning. So I think the visual experience is going to be something that's going to you know, make or break online teaching in the future.
I think that there should be, like, I talk about the kind of certifications that people should get. There's the TEFL, and there's the CELTA, which is the Certificate of English Language Teaching to Adults. And there's a CELTIL, was the Certificate of English Teaching to Young Learners. They have to come up with something for online, because it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different thing. And I've struggled. I'm doing a little bit of online, but I struggled to display all the potential of my teaching online. It's just not the same. I grant you this in terms of my opinion, not like I have the power to grant you, but I do think that in terms of teenagers, for example, online is the way to go. Teenagers have the attention span that's necessary. You work with text, with readings, with listening. So you don't have that, you don't need that physical response from a teenager or an adult. But little kids, 5, 6, 7, I don't know. I don't know how online will completely and correctly replace brick and mortar training centers.
Well,
That's
here's
my
the
opinion.
thing, and I have a response for that you might agree with, if you actually think about it. When we were kids, what was the one thing that we liked to do at home is watch cartoons, which was a visual experience. And sometimes your parents had to kick you out to go to the playground so you don't stay at home and watch cartoons on the TV all day, because it was a very good visual experience. You really enjoyed it as a child. So I think as soon as that can improve to a certain level, that's when it's gonna become a different ballgame. Because right now it's not very enjoyable online teaching. I give you that. It's not very enjoyable. But as soon as they start improving these visual things, which is a very important part, I think. I mean, if we would do online teaching right here, it would be very boring, because the only visual experience that you get is your face, my face, James's face, and my crappy green screen that I have through Zoom, and that's it. That's not a very good visual experience.
For yourself.
But once you can present once you can present 3D visual experiences, like 3D things. For example, you can start wearing 3D glasses that are coming back again. If you can start doing those things, it's gonna become more entertaining. And I think people, like parents, that they would love to see that, and they would be very happy to put their kids in front of a screen for like an hour and a half, if they can see the benefits of it.
So the VR thing is interesting. I never thought about that. Also, what about, this is completely sci-fi perhaps to some people, but hologram technology is that kind of stuff is coming through, and the VR experience that way. If it was more immersive into your environment, then you could definitely incorporate the TPR aspect there, and it would definitely be more dynamic.
I mean, I don't want it to go as far as saying like holograms and VR, but it is definitely, something that is a possibility in the future.
Yeah.
And, like I said, this is a possibility in 15, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And, what's saying no, that we can't have holograms or advanced technology in 25 years, for example, or just 20.
Sure. I mean, I'm not saying that technology doesn't have a place in the future. I just think that, for example, you guys know Khan Academy, right? You must have heard of Khan Academy. And there's Khan Academy Kids. This kind of content is as interactive as it can be. Click here, click there. Which one is the bigger? Do you know what I mean? It's as interactive as it can get. It can't get any more interactive than that. And this is a company that spends millions and millions in producing this kind of content. So where's the teacher? Where would the teacher be? Are you going to become media companies? I mean, education/media companies? What's going to happen to the teacher? There's going to be the one teacher that writes the content, writes the course, writes the program, and is constantly producing content. And what's going to happen to the rest of the teachers? Because, I mean, do you get my question?
So you mean that the amount of teachers that we're going to have in the future, it might decline because of the online...
If you're replacing actual teachers with media, with content, with software, basically that's what you're saying. The future of teaching is to disappear.
I wouldn't say it necessarily. I don't think it's going to disappear. It's just going to evolve. And I think that's a difference. It's not like, it's not something that is going to go away. It's just going to evolve.
Mm-hmm. But there will be fewer. What's your take on the evolution?
Yeah, and I see the argument, definitely, but it doesn't frighten me, because it's kind of one of those things where you adapt and the market changes and it goes in directions you completely don't expect sometimes, and you have to adapt to survive. And I'm more than happy to do that. But this is all very interesting. I'm on the side of yeah, stranger things have happened the way technology evolves and the way the market goes. But I'm also not quite ready to say, oh, I can see online completely replacing traditional forms of teaching. Because traditional forms of teaching that has the track record, for one thing. It's not a new thing. It's been going on since the beginning of civilization, you know. So I think there will always be a place for that. It's just kind of like something very fundamentally human is existed in all cultures, basically.
This has been a huge experiment worldwide, and
yes.
there are going to be lessons learned from this, and a lot of things will be incorporated. And you might be right. I just don't see it happening very soon. I mean, when I say very soon, by the time I retire, which is another 12, 13 years, I don't see it happening that quickly. So you may be right. I just don't see it happening all that quickly. But we're going to learn a lot of lessons from this. Guys, I wanted to start wrapping up the video a little bit and ask you a couple of final questions. What do you say to people who are outside thinking about coming to China to teach? Because the demand is there. What's your take? Are you raising your hand or bothering flies?
Yeah, I think James is like, don't come here, don't come here. I think that's what he's doing. I don't know.
Stay over there. I need the job. I need the work. Go away.
I'm having a fight with a mosquito, but yeah, I can go first. That's fine.
Yeah, go first, man.
Yeah, my last video was actually about this topic, about people who are thinking about coming to China and maybe possibly having second thoughts. First of all, because of obvious reasons about the virus and all that kind of thing. And also long-standing questions, concerns about China to do with hygiene, the political problems, the culture shock and all that kind of thing. I don't know, are you asking me,
would you
my
recommend
advice for people?
Yes, would you recommend people to come this year?
Yeah, yes, basically. With the caveat that it's not for everyone. Because
China's
of all those various aspects. Because I know many foreign teachers who come and just can't hack it for whatever reason, whether it's the culture shock, it's the food, not quite what they expected, and that's inevitable. And you have to keep that in mind. There might be some other country. Teaching English might be for you, but it might not be China that's for you. It suits a certain kind of personality, a certain resilience, I think, because there are going to be challenges. But for me, that's kind of why I want to do it, because I do want to challenge myself. But it's not a holiday. People sometimes think, oh, I'll just do that for a couple of years and just, go on. It's kind of like a big bender, If you want to do that, you can go to Thailand or Vietnam or whatever you want. But
Zack,
here it's. I would recommend it if you really feel like it's for you. Well, I would.
All right, to another country. So you're planning to stay in China for long term? Is China like a long term plan for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've decided relatively recently that I'm really feeling like nothing, and I'm really excited about delving into it and really kind of getting to know it properly. So I've indicated to the boss that I'm going to renew for another year at least, and then we'll see what happens after that. Well, I may go to a different city or different country or whatever, but at least another year, yeah. So I'm enjoying myself.
Cool.
All right, fair enough.
Zack, would you recommend China as a teaching destination?
Yes and no. The reason for yes is because the reason for yes is because like we said earlier, salary is something that is very charming for a lot of people here, and the cost of living is something that is very good here as a foreigner, because you get really good money as an English teacher here, and because of that, the money side, yes, it's really good. Food, again, really good. Everywhere you go in China, it's different kind of food. Like up here, we have Dongbei food. Down, southern China, there's different food. You go to Xinjiang, for example, there's different food there. or you go to Harbin, there's like, you know, sometimes Russian style meals. So it's always different in China. So because of the food and because of the cultural experiences that you can get in China, yeah, definitely come here and you know, pick up a teaching job or do business or do whatever. As long as you are here and you're experiencing the culture and the people and what China is like, then yeah, if you want to see that, definitely come here and see it for yourself. Now, if you want to come here and you know, basically crap on China, as many people do it, and say like, oh, it's a dirty country, or the toilets are, you know, squat toilets, and food safety is crap, and you know, people are disgusting. If you want to come here just to crap on China, don't do it, because you're not going to have a good time. You're going to hate everything, and after 3 months, you're just going to disappear, and that's going to cause a problem for your school, for yourself as well. Then you're just gonna take a bad experience with you into the West, and you're gonna spread that, you know, bad experience, and other people's gonna think that, oh, China is actually a bad place because my friend had a bad experience, which is not the case.
It's not fair. Yeah.
What's your take on this, Fernando?
Look, my take is a couple of points. Number one, China just got rid of the one-child policy. Well, not just like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So there's going to be a large bubble of students coming our way. So we're hitting the first primary school students from this change in policy in China. And that's going to have a huge effect on the number of students in China, the number of teachers that are required. So in my opinion, there's going to be a boom very, very soon. We are already in the beginning of that bubble. The second thing is come to teach here. But as James says, don't expect China to be the same as the country where you're from. Expect it to be different. That's the biggest thing that oh, but people here, yeah, people here. Oh, but then things here, yeah, things here. What? I just want to smack him in the head. Like, what did you expect? That's the main thing. And
nobody told me that the food is different. Why is everything so different here? Like, really?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, I mean, if you want England, you go to England. I mean, if you're from England and you want England in China, you don't come to China, you stay in England. If you want America in China, you stay in America. It's as simple as that. So, you know, if people get upset about this, then, you know, it sounds like a you problem.
Definitely. The third thing that I would like to say to people is, look, do your homework. Do your research. For example, James says that he talked to 2 people. In my videos, when I first started this channel and I was giving people advice on coming to China, talk to 5 people, 5 teachers. Talk to as many people as you can and corroborate everything that they're putting on paper and they're offering you, so that you know that you come into a place that's for real. Those are the 3 things, but definitely come to China. It's a great place, great future, great opportunities, and come before we are replaced by holograms.
James brought it up. I just backed his claim.
All right. Well, guys, we're coming to the end of this show. James, thank you so very much for coming to the show, man. I really appreciate your input. It's very nice to meet you. Any last thoughts? Do you want to plug your channel? This is
well, thank you.
Cheap plugs.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure for me as well. Yeah. The channel is called Shy Guy Travel. If you search that, it should be able to.
There's going to be a link in the description down below.
Instagram is James Smith Free. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, so we're going to put all the links in the description down below. Zack, your plug.
Yep. I mean, thank you. You know, today's episode back in the future, because thank you so much for watching this, and I hope we can have James, because, you know, he's a very entertaining guy, and it seems like he likes me.
Oh, yeah.
And he backs my claim, and you know, that's nice to have James back in the future for future topics, if he's up for it. Yeah, definitely. If you guys liked it, you know, go and check out my channel. Link's going to be under the thing, and if you can check out their channels. New, so give him some love. So he's not new. He's he's an old guy, but just because he's old, that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve any love. So some love as well.
I need special care and attention. All right, guys. Well, you know my channel, China Teacher Brand. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content on my channel, consider subscribing. And when you do that, don't forget to hit the bell button to be notified whenever there's a new video out. Until I see you again, take it easy. All right, guys. Thanks so much. And well, until we see you again, that's it for now.